Hey friends, welcome or welcome back. My name is Shannon, and today we are going to do another book haul. Yes, I know I just did like two within the past couple of months. Well, let me explain myself. So the video that I had planned for this week, I am not ready. Again, work is really, really busy, so I just haven't had time to put together my thoughts. Today, I had about 30 books that I wanted to get rid of. So I managed to find a used bookstore that accepted books and gave you credit and or cash. And unfortunately, this bookstore is an hour away from me. There's no used bookstores near where I live, south of Boston, or none that I could find anyway, that will take books and give you credit. So this place is in Burlington, which is north of Boston, and it's called Used Book Superstore Burlington. So I schlepped an hour north to drop off like 30 books, and they took nearly all of them except like four, which I'm going to probably put in a little free library. And as you can see, I'm in my car and someone's alarm just went off. So hopefully you can't hear that. Okay, I'm going to have to move. All right, guess you're coming for a ride with me. One of the many dangers of having to film in your car, just the ambient noise. So sorry about that. I can still hear it. That guy's going to be mad when he comes out of the store. All right. Hopefully this is better. I'm going to have to cut all that out. Oh, at least I can't hear that. Okay. All right. Anyway, I don't even remember where I was. All right. Video not ready. Had to sell some books. Schlepped an hour north. Sold my books. And then instead of taking the cash, because they give you full amount store credit, but only 50% of that credit in cash. So I was like, whatever, I'm going to be using the credit anyway. So I figured I would just use it. And I'm going to show you what I purchased today. I used my credit and they gave me a 15% coupon. And so I only spent $46 and I got basically replaced nearly all of the books that I gave them. So, first one is the Folger Shakespeare's Library, The Winter's Tale. And I am in the process of collecting these. I really like the Folger Shakespeare Library editions for all of Shakespeare's plays. I used to have a big bind up of all of the plays. However, I got rid of that and decided to purchase them separately in these editions because they're great. They've got explanatory notes. They have some critical analysis, some essays. I really enjoy these, and so I've been collecting them, and I do not have the Winter's Tale yet. Eventually, I hopefully will collect them all, and I'm trying to get them used. I don't want to pay full price for them unless I have to, but so whenever I go into a thrift shop or a used bookstore, I try to locate these. Okay, so the next editions that I like to collect are the Norton Critical editions, and I'm obsessed with these. I'm obsessed with these because they have just such great critical analysis in the back. So, for example, this is Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. I'm not really going to go into what it's about. So, The Heart of Darkness is only 78 pages. Look at all of this background reviews, textual analysis, like amazing. To me, this is a good time. I love reading about this. I want to buy these used because they are expensive. They can sometimes be like $25. I am probably going to start replacing a lot of my favorite classics with these editions. I don't actually have Heart of Darkness, so this isn't a replacement, but Uncle Tom's Cabin is a replacement. I already have Uncle Tom's Cabin and I've already read it like many, many years ago. I've already forgotten most of it, but it's like a Barnes and Noble old edition. But I want this edition, which has all of this great stuff in the back talking about the book and reviews at the time, textual analysis, etc. So I am slowly collecting the Norton Critical editions, used if I can. Next, I got Brave New World and Brave New World Revisited by Aldous Huxley. This actually is also a replacement because I do have Brave New World, which I've never read, but I don't have Brave New World Revisited, which is, I guess, his nonfiction work. Following Brave New World is the nonfiction work Brave New World Revisited, first published in 1958. It is a fascinating work in which Huxley uses his tremendous knowledge of human relations to compare the modern day world with the prophetic fantasy envisioned in Brave New World, including threats to humanity such as overpopulation, propaganda, and chemical persuasion. So I will probably donate my other copy, and I have this bind up of both. Okay, next I have The Woman They Could Not Silence, the shocking story of a woman who dared to fight back, by Kate Moore. And this is basically, this woman got sent to an asylum by her husband in 1860 because you could do that back then. You could just throw your wife into an asylum if she talked back to you for like whatever reason. It was just absolutely crazy. And she just fought like crazy. The horrific conditions inside the Illinois State Hospital in Jacksonville, Illinois, are overseen by Dr. Andrew McFarland, a man who will prove to be even more dangerous to Elizabeth than her traitorous husband. But most disturbing is that Elizabeth is not the only sane woman confined to the institution. There are many rational women on her ward who tell the same story. They've been committed not because they need medical treatment, but to keep them in line, conveniently labeled crazy so their voices are ignored. So I am definitely interested in reading this, and I guess it would be good for Nonfiction November because we are in November. And all right, so most of what I've got is nonfiction. Next is Witches, Sluts, Feminists by Kristen J. Sollee. Witch, slut, feminist, these contested identities are informing millennial women as they counter a tortuous history of misogyny, and I can't read the rest of that. She basically goes over talks of reproductive rights, sexual pleasure, queer identity, pornography, sex work, etc. So it's a slim little thing. So I just, anything feminist, I'm going to grab, see if it's good or not. We'll see. Next, I got Young Queens, 3 Renaissance Women in the Price of Power by Leah Redmond Chang. You know me, I love me some biographies about royal women, and so this is covering, who are these 3 women? This is Catherine de' Medici, Elizabeth de Valois, who ended up as the Queen of Spain, and then Mary, Queen of Scots. So we're in the 1500s here, and how these 3 women's lives intertwined. Mary, Queen of Scots, was actually Catherine de' Medici's daughter-in-law at one point. So, I mean, this is a perfect hardcover edition that I got for $10, and it's normally $35. So definitely excited to add this to my collection. Again, nonfiction November. The Man Who Hated Women, Sex, Censorship, and Civil Liberties in the Gilded Age by Amy Sohn. I'm actually really excited about this. If you remember, I think it was last year, I did a video about a book I read called Banned in Boston, how the Boston Watch and Ward Society was instrumental in just severe censorship here in Boston and in the surrounding Boston communities in Massachusetts. And one person that I mentioned that was instrumental in assisting this was Anthony Comstock. He was from New York, and he started the New York Watch and Ward Society, of which the Boston chapter had started out as like a chapter of the New York Society, but then they broke off on their own. But Anthony Comstock was instrumental in setting forth laws called the Comstock Laws, which was severe censorship laws that affected the entire country, not just New York and not just Massachusetts. And this guy tangled himself up in all of these issues. I'm actually reading a biography about Margaret Sanger right now, and she got tangled up with him. He was trying to censor her distributing information about birth control, and because of the Comstock laws, she was brought to trial, and so she had a kerfuffle with him. This person here on the front is Emma Goldman. She had a kerfuffle with him. I also have a biography about Madame Restell, who was a famous abortionist in New York. She also got into a kerfuffle with him. So this is basically going to go over, just a couple of the women that he hated, including Margaret Sanger and Emma Goldman. And let's see who else we have in here. Victoria Woodhull, who I don't actually know who that is. So anyway, just this guy just just hated women, just hated us having the information that we needed. All right, so this one is actually a repurchase. I had this book many years ago. I read it, I loved it, and I still think about it today, and I regret getting rid of it. And that is I Feel Bad About My Neck and Other Thoughts on Being a Woman by Nora Ephron. I'm actually glad to have this back and reread it because it's always stuck with me. There's like one thing in here that has stuck with me for years, and I read it like many, many years ago, probably when I was maybe too young to fully appreciate this. And she said, if you look back in the past at women, middle-aged women, so I'm middle-aged, I'm 46 years old. So if you look in the past pictures of like women in the 50s, 60s, or whatever, who are 46 years old, they look really old. And why is that? And she basically just says 2 words: hair dye. And I'm like, okay, yeah, fair. Hair dye has, extended our youth per se, or at least, we look younger. And as someone who has now stopped coloring her hair, I have, it's been over 6 months. I've stopped coloring my hair. I'm over it. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. But that statement stuck with me, and I want to reread this because I'm sure I will now be able to fully appreciate a lot of the things that she had said here. Next, The North Women, Untold Stories from the Other Half of the Viking World by Heather Pringle. And first of all, I just loved this cover. And this was, I think, published by National Geographic. And it's just basically looking at Viking women, and most of the historical research that's been done is about Viking men, which is very important. The Viking people were like a dominant force in the medieval world. So, but where are the women? And this is probably going to go over that. So I'm very excited about this one, and I do love the cover. Again, nonfiction for Nonfiction November, and a beautiful hardcover for only $11, and I think it was originally $30. So excellent condition. All right, 2 more, and both are Jane Austen. Yay! Just when I think I've collected all there is to know about Jane Austen, I found 2 more fun little things. Probably nothing like mind-blowing, but whatever. So this is the Jane Austen Miscellany by Lauren Nixon, and this is just miscellaneous stuff. Examining the world of Jane Austen through quotes and analysis, this book reveals the real Jane, bitchy, gossipy, and badly behaved at times, but also the writer, the devoted sister and aunt, and the true romantic. And let's see. Yeah, it's just like little snippets of quotes, and which, I've got plenty of those, but still, I just love collecting anything about Jane Austen. So we'll see how this goes. And then the last book, which is another book about Jane Austen, and this is The Friendly Jane Austen, a well-mannered introduction to A Lady of Sense and Sensibility by Natalie Tyler. And I'm assuming maybe this is Natalie's face. I don't know. Her picture isn't in the back. Natalie Tyler shuns the obscure academic studies of Austen's writings to provide lively, often humorous discussions on every one of Austen's novels and favorite characters. Quizzes, eye-catching illustrations, interviews with Austen scholars and lovers, a filmography, a bibliography, and browsable quotes and sidebars throughout that will help readers. So this is just for fun. It's not really going to be academic. And I just recently watched this version of Pride and Prejudice, the Greer Garson and Laurence Olivier from 1940, I want to say, and I loved it. It was just totally inaccurate, but so much fun. I really, really enjoyed it. Greer Garson's facial expressions in that movie were just pure gold, and she was just way better than Laurence Olivier. He's just a grump. So highly recommend if you haven't seen that. Okay, so that's it. That is my used bookstore haul, brought to you because I can't get my life together and get my other videos scripted and filmed. So I hope you have enjoyed that. And what have you been reading? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. And thank you so much for watching. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.